And first up here, a story you'll only see on WCNC Charlotte. Outfitted with guns, tear gas, and armored trucks, SWAT teams are reserved for only the most dangerous search warrants. But a defender's investigation found the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department almost never uses that militarized approach in South Charlotte, which is predominantly white and wealthy. In response to our Nate Morabito's discovery, CMPD's deputy chief is defending the police department's tactics.
6 years worth of CMPD data show police regularly serve search warrants in pretty much every part of the city. But that map drastically changes when you only focus on the search warrants served by the SWAT team. A set of keys unlocks the repercussions of a misguided use of police force. A strategic misstep by CMPD that left Melinda London staring in disbelief.
It's just messed up.
At all she says she could salvage.
I don't want to look at it. It's heartbreaking.
And worse, London says police
We gave her the key.
could have spared her family
Just want to open up the door.
if officers had just used the house keys they handed over on that July 2020 night.
There's like 100 police out there.
Instead, CMPD relied on its SWAT team.
They gonna kick that door in.
A decision that damaged London's East Charlotte rental home.
The front of the house was detached from the rest of the house.
All out of the family's view, stuck behind a police line.
No one's in there.
CMPD thought they'd find a dangerous wanted man inside, securing a search warrant based on intel from neighbors.
How can we validate that you all actually have a warrant?
A warrant the family says police didn't even let them see until after the fact.
We didn't deserve this.
A warrant that turned up nothing
That's one room.
but a mess.
This is just not fair what happened to us. Treat us like you would treat South Park, Valentine. Treat us like those people.
That night, they couldn't help but wonder
Not in Valentine.
how this would have played out on the other side of town.
They would gladly take a key, easily.
CMPD records confirm not in Ballantyne, not in South Park. In fact, the department has only used its SWAT team once since 2015 to serve a search warrant in South Charlotte, commonly called the Wedge.
Oh, the yellow? That's a disgrace.
Once out of 76 times over the last 5+ years. What does that say?
Well, you know, when you look at those numbers, you really have to go behind the numbers, right? And you have to ask the why.
Deputy Chief Stella Patterson defends CMPD's decision-making.
You don't think it's a problem, the way it looks, the way it feels for those people?
I think the optics of it could be problematic for some people, certainly. But again, we have to understand why is it that this is occurring.
She says the department only calls in the SWAT team in extreme cases, when police search for someone dangerous.
South Charlotte is mostly, you know, property crime is what we tend to see.
She says the lack of violence here explains the lack of SWAT activity, unlike in other parts of town.
How many of those actually turn out to be violent, of the 76 that you all have used in the last 5 years?
Actually, when you say violent, you mean a violent outcome?
Yeah, a violent outcome.
I don't know the exact number, but I would venture to say that minimal.
The deputy chief also considers minimal the number of times CMPD dispatches its SWAT team in the first place.
It doesn't matter what part of town you're from. It doesn't matter who you are. We're going to treat everybody with respect. We're going to treat everybody with dignity.
In hindsight,
Andorra Drive was really a learning incident for us.
She says CMPD's learned from what went wrong at this home last summer.
That was a very volatile time.
Described as regrettable now.
Regrettably, there was property damage.
But necessary then for safety reasons.
Based on all the information we had, we did what was most appropriate.
No justice, no peace.
But back at Melinda London's storage unit,
This is life. I'm over being treated like a second-class citizen.
her family is now scattered.
I don't even have a place to live, you know what I mean?
And London says she is homeless, holding a set of keys, not to a house, but to a storage unit. The family's attorney told us to make matters worse, all these months later, the city has yet to make a, quote, reasonable offer to cover the cost of damages to their personal belongings, which he said included family heirlooms. A city spokesperson told us even before the family demanded a $200,000 settlement, the city offered $3,600 to cover 3 months of rent, adding the city is willing to pay when it's at fault. but is waiting on itemized documentation to validate those expenses. The family's attorney told us that's generally a fair ask, but unreasonable under these circumstances. Nate Morabito, WCNC Charlotte.